Crystal Lynn and Mr. Edward. So we're just going to allow this to take place. We were talking earlier, and he has rebuilt a path like in a forest next to his home. It's so beautiful, and the emotions that is just a joy, and feels like a rebirth. And it just feels so much joy. Like the horse is so excited too. And as Edward was showing me this, I could see him building this path, but also putting his ancient wisdom into that path through each piece of wood that you placed on the side. I would love it if you don't mind sharing that, if you could put a little video real fast, and I could put this video so people could feel that energy. It's very beautiful. And I feel
I can definitely send that. It's strange as well, because it doesn't really feel like we've done it. When I've really felt like laying the wood, and this bit goes here or this bit goes there, it's just felt like just letting our hands be an extension of nature. And it's like, that almost feels like that's how we were created, or that's how we created ourselves to live on this planet, as like gardeners, as an extension of nature, not creators in that sense. It's like we're co-creators. We're like, there's no like there's no my is an interesting word. It's like the my starts to dissolve, and you're like, well, I can't really call this mine. It's at my parents' house. They rent it. It's on a planet who is her own sovereign being, and it's really showing me a lot about everything on Earth. Really, how I wouldn't necessarily, resistance is the right word, but I just tend to flow now away from projects or anything that like kind of claims ownership. It's really, I've been feeling into this for some time, but it's really, for me, what's happening on the planet at the moment is this transition from ownership to guardianship. And it's with everything. It's with, the way we treat our possession, or the way we treat what we, I guess, used to call possessions, or the way we treat our relationships, where our food comes from, the land, that we live on. It fills me with hope, because it feels like such a bright world when it's just served by guardians, because not everyone wants to do everything, and we're starting to see that here. It's a lot easier if you have someone making the bread and someone doing the gardening, and you can interchange, but it's like at different times you have different callings, and there's no like hierarchy in that. Everything is fundamental in nature, just from the ants to the elephants, to the whales. It's all we say things like, oh, they're keystone species, and like this is really important, and there is to an extent. Like an oak tree does support a huge diversity of life, maybe more than a tomato plant does. But then you learn, well, how many people does tomato plants feed? There's so many different perspectives to feel into things. And it's also really showed me that these are almost just little bookmarkers, these beautiful spots on Earth, little like bookmarkers for where you can dive deeper. And it's like, or a book cover. They're like book covers. But actually, you buy a book not for the cover, but for reading what's inside of it. And like when I was just chatting to you in the little fire pit we made in the woodlands, and you said, oh, this feels like a vortex. And it's like, it does. And it's just like what we've done there is just create a little nice marker point to jump in and out of that. And I'm just touching the surface, I feel. Just going to blow my nose.
I feel beautiful. As you're saying all that, one thing that came forward for me was that we're sinking into our instincts. So animals and plants, they just move with their instinct. They lie on the ground like a plant, like ivy. I don't know why that's coming to mind, but
Yes, so much ivy.
yeah, that it is just it knows where it's going to seed itself. And just like when we're intertwining, when you were explaining and walking through, I could see like the woods that had broken apart, pieces of you that you just took and you laid them differently and created this beautiful ancientness plus newness. And as you're explaining it, we're in syncing who we are with nature, and it just flows.
When you said the ancientness and the newness, that's really been coming through to me as well. The newness from the ancientness, and I've seen it. There are three trees that kind of jumped to mind. There was a really old yew tree. The trunk had fallen down. It was, by all accounts, dead. And then there was a very thin tree coming out of it, a young one. And then I saw this again with another tree. I believe it might have been out of a stump, another little tree. And then I've seen these ancient oaks. And at this time of year, all their leaves are coming back. And the leaves look so green and fresh and young. And yet the bark and the branches and the trunk are ancient. And what's kind of coming through now is it's the oak is ancient, but the yew is even ancienter.
Yeah.
But the oak has this strength that protects the yew in many ways, and it's beautiful how the trees harmonize themselves, with the beech and the oak, the beech and the pine in the woods where I've been working are like probably the dominant trees. And then there's a lot of elder around the edges and a few oak trees. And there's not really, they all use the same food, sunlight and water, which from our traditional way of seeing the world, we would say as competition. They're all competing for that, but they're not really. It doesn't feel like that. That's a very human perspective. It's more of a symphony is the word that comes to mind. It's a symphony. Yes. They bring the best out of each other.
Yes, and I felt that. So why you said symphony, because that's what it is. It's just a beautiful exchange. That's what I feel, that there's just an exchange from us to them. They don't see us as separate. We're just so part of them, and we have lived them. Many of us have lived, as a tree, and our presence is still in that you connect into. Like whenever I hear you talk about the yew tree, I see yourself as that, or me as an oak tree, or and I can feel that when I go into deep meditations. I can feel myself as that, and that's
sorry to interrupt that. It's almost come through to me. It's like we are all things at all times.
Yes.
The future and the past. It's all now. And when you remember how to connect with the stillness, and that allows you to focus your attention. And when you focus your attention, when you don't focus your attention and you're in that stillness, you are just everything. And that is blissful and wonderful and home. And then there's another sort of home, maybe it's like a second home, or like a holiday cottage, where you focus on different parts of yourself, and one part of yourself could be the oak tree or the yew tree. And if you allow and you do become that tree for that moment, which is just, you know, a slice of all, the only moment there is. And yeah, thank you very much for bringing that through.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
And I've really appreciated watching your videos. Not necessarily the ones recently, which I have watched, but I've literally had so many fires in the process of building the bath and outside, and I've been burning so much, and it's such a, like, I mean, not maybe not like crazy amounts, but more than I, you know, do when I'm in London. And the fires are just, it's connecting me with that element, the fire, the earth. We're building a little pond now, the water, and the air. You can look up at the stars have been incredibly clear. Like, not so much this week because we've had a lot of rain, which has been really wonderful and clearing. But all these elements as well are another sort of harmony that arises, how they balance each other. And then the ether, when I look at your painting behind you, that just kind of goes like, oh, that's the fifth element. It's kind of very ethereal, the one which all of them come out of.
Wow, my heart just went like this as soon as you said so beautiful. And I feel the
fifth element.
Yeah, of just how it's creating in my home. And for some reason a video of mine came forward, and I was like, it's been up there for 3 weeks. So you kind of gaze back at your past. It's like, oh my God, so much has taken place. And not it just has shown me. It has shown me. Yeah. And that's what's beautiful. You know, and I feel that each person that, you know, visualizes it, they see them, you know, and to me it just feels beautiful because even my son connects to it, and he's, you know, yeah. So yeah, it's just beautiful.
And even just before we start, that little synchronicity that I had, like a friend of mine in Charleston, very, very different to me, but he and I saw on Instagram, he cooked pea soup, and we'd literally just had pea soup. And I've had a few of these little synchronicities, and I see the gnomes behind you, and somewhere a little gnome came onto the path. I'm not sure who put it there. But it's the little things like that are just sort of like, oh yeah. There's a lot that sort of little hints that we really are harmonizing, and it is all sort of coming into balance. Really blessing this time has been for the world.
Yeah, I want to talk real fast about that. Synchronicities are becoming more and more. I mean, they're like, you don't even think about them, and they're right there in your face.
And softer.
Yeah, and so
they're softer, the synchronicities. Yeah.
And it's just like bam, 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 and it's just like and it just feels so beautiful. But the one thing that I've been really noticing is, and I noticed it too when I went to a grocery store. I knew this woman, but it wasn't the woman that I thought it was, you know, and she said her name was something different. And then on Facebook, people have had the same name. I thought that their profile had switched, you know, that somebody stole their profile and was using their pictures, but no, it was really the person. I was like, oh my God, like the faces to the names are changing. And I you know, I had to step back from that, but that's what's happening in our reality. Used to be there is no longer there. So another part of them, or however that I feel it's another part of them, is showing up. And so I don't know if it's just happening with me, but it's happening a lot in my life. So that's another, to me, a synchronicity that things are shifting. And I remember hearing this video years ago, you know, I don't know if it was Abraham Hicks or whoever it was, but they had said that when New Earth comes forward, that people will slide away and they just won't know you. And I feel that that's happening with that. Like the person I see,
mm,
I knew them, their name, but I physically don't know them anymore.
mm,
It's not the same thing.
mm,
And
mm.
I don't, and I feel that's part of that.
It's also because our definition of knowing has evolved so much. Like
Yes.
maybe when I was at school, to know someone, I just had to have met them and exchanged names, and I know where they live or something. Whereas now you have these deep connections with people on a soul level, whether it's in a ceremony or that everything, I guess, some sort of ceremony, but an organized ceremony or something more subtle. And you realize you get to know versions of yourself on such a deep level that these other people who you met, these acquaintances, they can't come under the same umbrella definition of knowing someone. So it doesn't feel like you really knew them. Yeah.
Yeah. Explained it beautifully.
Mm.
But yeah, it's beautiful what's happening for all of us. And me and Edward were talking before we got on here about I have been feeling this like huge wave that everybody's just going, this huge waveness, especially outside when I've been connecting in with my trees. And, uh,
Mm.
and Edward too said that, he feels this even without even mentioning it, because I feel this huge wave. And he said it so beautifully, if you could bring that forward again, about how each one of us are bringing forward just a piece.
Mm. It was around, I feel like, this wave of faith, and
Yeah.
it's made up of all these little droplets of water or bodies of water that we are. And it may just be a little bit of faith, like you take some, let's say, a mother on one side of the world who's needs food to feed her children. She doesn't have months and months of that, but she has faith and she's trusting that something will come through. And then she meets up with someone else, and she's a great cook, let's say. And then she meets up with someone else who can't cook, but he has faith that he'll meet someone who can, and he has lots of cooking pots, let's say, that he inherited. And then they just need the food. And then the last person who comes through is, let's say, a gardener who has lots of food but no time to cook it because he's always in the garden. And they just suddenly realize that they all live very close together, and they create this sort of community where everyone brings something, and then they probably learn each other's skills of each other. And it's all just because they had faith that it was going to come. And that is happening for me on a massive scale. And they're just like these little individual paths that people have been just sort of chipping away at with their faith, and they're sort of meeting, and then they meet other people and other people meet them, and these circles come together. And it's really beautiful.
So beautiful. It just makes me feel glorious. Is the word that keeps coming to my mind. It just makes me feel so beautiful.
Glorious.
Yes, that word's been coming to me a lot lately, and I feel that that's what we're stepping into is glorious.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's a wonderful word.
yeah,
I haven't used it a lot recently, but
yeah,
it is glorious.
yeah, and it just feels so beautiful for me, and and to see that each piece. And I'm so thankful
Mm.
because of each piece has taken us to a deeper part of us, and I know how now to get out of that.
Mm.
I know how
Mm.
to learn to center my energy back into that. Once you realize you're in that stuckness and that you feel horrible in your body, to bring it back into that center, and then allow it to transmit through you. So I'm so thankful for this journey.
Mm.
And
And I saw a message from my friend this morning, a post he made, and it was about failure and his little daughter who was making something, and she couldn't do it, and he did it, and then she couldn't do it, and she was getting frustrated, and he explained to her how the frustration blocks you, and his mechanism for getting away of the frustration is to celebrate his failures,
Yes.
because they show you the next time you do it how you don't want to do it, and the more failures you have, the more chance of success you have,
Absolutely.
in a given area and in a greater area. And I loved the way he explained that, and it was really nice, because I'm sure when I started out this journey, I used to get frustrated with my frustrations, or judge the fact that this didn't work, when actually that's the true blockage. The frustration is showing you something.
Yes.
And I've had a few moments where I got frustrated, but like you said, I feel like our previous lessons have really helped us, like, been able to dissipate that energy quite quite easily, relatively easily and quickly, even if it's a lot of energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you said it perfectly, a lot of energy, because going through my body is holding more energy than it ever has before, and I just allow the experience to expand to its full potential. And I can feel, because I do follow the hertz that hit the earth, and they are very extremely high, and that means that we're doing it. We truly are.
It does.
Yeah, and
What's coming through is, do you remember we had a conversation and you talked about the trees coming, and a lot of the plants on Earth coming from Orion?
yes. Well,
And it feels to me like this is sort of a map to navigate. The Earth's surface is a map to navigate the stars, but we can navigate it all from here, like with all the different beings here. And it's actually, they're again little marker points. They're outside, but they're really inside, and we have them outside to actually enable us to find places of ourselves inside. Such a beautiful balance. There's a lot of talk about, like, getting away from duality, or transcending duality, but at this moment it feels really perfect to me.
yeah.
It's like that fifth element. If you've realized that duality all comes out of oneness, it's a wonderful play. It's it would just be light otherwise. It would just be one big ball of light, which I feel like lots of people now who would listen to these kind of videos are starting to have experiences where you do just melt into that oneness, and then you come back. And the shadow is what allows us to create the shapes
Yes.
and the colors, and I would say the colors to an extent. And it may go, and we may just move back in that oneness, but the journey to get there is beautiful. And you don't want to miss out on a good film because it's a film, and you're trying to tell everyone, this isn't real, this is a film. Because there might be like a bunch of people who are sitting there watching the film like, yeah, we know it's not real, we're just enjoying the play. And there's, I think Bertrand Russell said, there's a opportunity in distraction, and I love that. It's like, if you can get distracted by something, it's probably a reason for it. But you have to get to a certain level of like connection with yourself to feel what distractions are serving you.
Yes.
And usually, if you can get distracted from something, it's because that where your attention was resting before wasn't maybe where it was meant to be at that time. Take meditation, for example. If you're trying to meditate, and trying to meditate is always, for me, kind of a no-no, because if you're trying, you've already pushed it away in many ways in that sense. But maybe you're trying to meditate and you can't really focus. Well, maybe it's because you need to stretch your body first, or you haven't set a scene that makes it easier for you to begin with. And I found that a lot with these couple of weeks. originally I was like, oh, planning, I've got to do this and that on my laptop, and actually just being kind of called outside, and I'm really embracing that now. And at the right times, I've then flowed into, these connections, whether it's through Zoom or, writing. And that's been my big journey, is like just, again, having faith that your intuition, your body knows what is right for you at the time. And having the courage to let go of those old patterns, or the way that the patterns ingrained in society, you must do this, at that time, this is how we do it, you must work hard. We can let go a lot of that now.
Yes, 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 yes. And that has been the biggest challenge for me over the last 2 weeks in the reflection, because everything has been reflected. And that to me has been, I've always been taught, work hard. My dad was a farmer, so it's always been taught you have to work hard to receive. And over the last couple of weeks, that has been rising in me, I want to say, because those energies. And I just then, nope, I don't gotta, and then I just let it go. And then I ask, nope, I'm gonna take it easily. And it's amazing what shows up that day. In little things, little things.
Like you take the example of this path that we've built.
Yeah.
That would look to a lot of people like it was hard work.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of moving wood, physical labor, like raking. I wouldn't really describe it as hard work. It's been because it's been feeding me as you do it. Okay, maybe you're tired at the end, but it's nice to be tired sometimes. It makes rest welcome. Or feel like you've done something. And that's the kind of activity you want to be engaged in, because from a perspective, you've done a lot. It looks like it was hard work, but it didn't feel hard. It was soft, it was rewarding, it was energizing. And I'm really learning from that. That's what I want to, in all the activities I engage in, I want to be like that. They're creative and they have bountiful harvests, but even you brought up the farming. I think that's the way we've got to start producing our food. Not such an intensive, like, we make it hard work for ourselves. A forest, if you know what's in there and you do a little bit of tending here and there, bit of clearing the dead wood, maybe dropping a few seeds, can feed so many people. But it's you have to know, as you were describing earlier, that plant can be used for medicine, or that plant at this time of year, the root can be dug up, or this one has beautiful berries, but you shouldn't eat the seeds, or you might not be able to eat the berries again.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that. I didn't even think of that. Love it.
Yeah. So showing me so much this time, and really grateful. I'm very grateful.
I'm very grateful. I'm grateful for this whole journey. I'm grateful for me taking the process seriously, not seriously, but in a funny, not serious way, but so beautiful.
It's like, you're right. I'm resistant to the word seriously because of the baggage that comes with it, but it's almost sincerely, or you're recognizing the sacredness, but also the joy and the humor and the love that's within all of that sacredness. And seriousness doesn't really come into me. It's almost like it's telling me, that's, if I'm a river and I'm flowing, it's telling me that's hard rock. It's not really, go for the soft rock. That's the nice path. You can chip away at the hard rock on the edges, in the years to come, but at the moment, reach the sea.
And that's so beautiful, because that's exactly what I feel, because you want to take your experience seriously. When we get so caught up in being so spiritual, we get lost, and it does. It's like a hard rock. I'm taking this serious,
Like, you must do your meditation today. And so, well, then you're not getting the best out of it. And the word discipline as well is interesting, because that's also got a lot of baggage now. There's a respect I have for people who practice a craft and they practice it and they practice it and practice it. And that is a sort of discipline, but discipline almost feels like the wrong word to describe it now. It's almost like you're feeding a passion. It's I think craft is a good word actually, because you don't really, or mastery is a good word. You master a craft. It's a better way to describe it than discipline.
Yeah, it's just silly words that we've been programmed.
It's the last thing actually on the note of the path. It's kind of funny synchronicity on mastery. I read a book a number of years ago, maybe 4 years ago, maybe longer, called The Five Rings. It's a Japanese book, translated of a Japanese book by the samurai called Miyamoto Musashi. And he was clearly an incredible being. And he had this incredible journey of transformation. I think he killed his first person when he was 11 as a samurai. And by the end of his career, he just used a wooden sword and didn't kill anyone, you know. But even if people came at him with like swords and stuff, he could disarm them without killing them, which is where a lot of the martial arts came from. How to use someone else's energy to neutralize their attack on you, but without putting it back on them, without snuffing them out, so to speak. You just actually disarming them. And interestingly, a lot of this guy inspired a lot of the games that children play today, like Pokemon or the gyms. He was the one to master 2 swords. But without getting too distracted by that story, because it's beautiful, the thing that really sat with me for a long time was that he had this belief that if you mastered one thing, if you truly mastered one thing, like he did with his swordsmanship, you master everything. So then in the end of his lifetime, he became a wonderful artist and a writer. And I read this book, and my sister made that summer, completely unconnected, made a sculpture which had 5 rings. And there was another one of those little synchronicities. And yes, the other thing I really learned from him was how places. He wrote this book in a cave in Japan when he was really old. And he said he chose that place because of the energy at the earth. And he'd wake up at 4 a.m. every day and write. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. It kind of really was the first thing that kind of put me onto that places and times create spaces that are more that make it easier. That you know, like the soft rock for practicing the craft that you want to practice. I've started to notice that with writing a lot. I find it much easier to write at night than in the day.
Yeah.
A lot clearer for me.
Yeah. So beautiful. I feel his presence here right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Beautiful. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for honoring him. Wow. Beautiful. I got a big old smile. I can't quit smiling. I just love it. I just love it. So Edward,
he feels like one of those, I don't know, almost those stereotypes of a wise Asian man, you know, who will, you know, in like those movies, who will probably like hit you over the head with a fish or something if you've been stupid, but does it with such love that it's not like aggressive. Yeah.
At all. I can feel it. I can feel it, like, you know, stern, but just the softness to him.
Yeah.
Oh my God, just feels so beautiful. Thing. Man, the emotions today. Wow. It's like one leading into the other.
Yeah.
But my guides are like really here, and so I want to bring forth this message. But I want you to bring forward. I'm gonna take a drink real fast. Beautiful breath that you had brought forward when we were talking earlier.
A beautiful breath.
being slowed down.
Ah, yes. So I noticed like how a friend of mine calls this presencing. And me and Vicky chatting just then, there's a lot of excitement. And the excitement is good, but it can run away. And that's the sort of distraction that I feel we want to become aware of. So a good way for me to start with this is to just take 3 breaths. Particularly if you're having a conversation with someone, it's almost good to sit in the silence until it feels uncomfortable, and then sit a little longer and really feel into being, connecting with everything around you. Really easy to start this in nature. You can contextualize yourself with, the beings around you, the sounds, any other energies that come through, and just keeping your breathing deep. So here, when I'm presencing what comes when I sit in the stillness, is really in the background this fire. It's a low fire, just embers at the moment, no flame. Just that little crackle I can hear every now and again. And it's like you're making a nest wherever you sit. And when you make that nest, you think it's a nest, but maybe you also burrow. You sort of burrow into the space that you're in. And sort of give a little shake. And reach a deeper level of sensing or presence beyond the 3D world that our eyes see, which can be beautiful. Always beautiful. But at moments, there's times to sense and presence the origin of that beauty. All this beauty around us is all manifested from one source. There's only one source of all creation, and it flows through everything. Every piece of creation has the birthright to co-create the next moment. And so it's valuable at moments, whenever it comes to mind, to feel this beauty and see it inside. And closing your eyes, can be a good way to start this. But you can also feel and see this beauty inside with your eyes open. And that's really exciting boundary to explore. But to do that, we have to be grounded in both worlds, if you like to call that, the inner world and the outer world. And then we can open up this third world where they exist together and they flow together. And we can sit on that little boundary of the internal and external world, both of which present, hold, create incredible beauty. And we touch both realms. And this is where the elementals come out. Where everything has a spirit. Everything is part of that one creator, that universal consciousness with its own unique perspective of creation.
I, Ariane, am coming forward. As you are feeling into the present state of yourself right now, you have been taken on a journey. So soft, so loving to you. You are more present right now for this journey. So thank you, Mr. Edward. You are learning to adapt to being more present. Mr. Edward was in the flow of his self. You are all learning to do this. Yourself, feel the sifting, moving through yourselves, fulfilling each other, knowing that they are connected to more than you can even imagine. We have listened to the conversation, been present here the whole time. There is a rebirth here and an ancientness of deaths that you have been through. They are not really deaths, you just see them as that. There is an emerging of the ancientness and the birthing of a new you that's happening in your world. Whether you are remembering why you came here. It is a wave. Each piece is moving away. Many doors have shut over this last couple weeks, we will say. When doors shut, doors open. You're moving through a consciousness that you have released. You are obtaining new conscious awareness in your body for it. When you are in the flow of your present state, there is no fear. You feel comforted. You know that everything is all right. You do not feel alone. Even though you are in your stillness right now, you are learning to acclimate this into your busyness. Different. Well, it is going to be different for everyone. Do not fear the word different. There is no fear here. You are moving into a perfect place of beingness that is affecting the mass. So as you are moving through your judgments, do not think that you are disconnected. You are never disconnected. It is only you that disconnects yourself in your judgments. There has been so much spoken here today. These two living beings are showing you an example of the shift. You are all doing it differently. As you see, the energy is here moving you, but you are doing it in a unique way. Each one of you. So in your present state, when your light is shining, be it awake or be it where you are, you are shining your light and it is affecting the mass of you and all. We are going to bring forward something that you have stumbled across, Mr. Edward. It is to do with the trees, for they are very present here in the state. And this has to do with many origins of the plants. Because you have humanized yourself so much that is not a bad thing. It is taking you to you right now. But there are some presidences that there really is no president to the plant species. We felt your energy as you were in a child, the nails that were placed upon the trees of constructing a platform. As you see, the plants do not feel the pain that you feel. When you feel that you were placing those nails, you had no experience of pain at that time for the tree itself as a child. There was no pain. But you as an adult see, oh, I placed those, my father placed those. Those were placed, oh, no. That is only for your experience to learn from.
It feels to me on a deeper level, it's more about the gracefulness of co-creating, and it's symbolic of a lot of the ways we as humans without any judgment, have maybe been ungraceful in our creations. And as I was saying, before, those failures are really beautiful, and we should celebrate them because they inform us how we can co-create more gracefully in this moment and in the ensuing moments. So thank you for that. I did feel I had a little bit of shame or judgment, that just a tiny little bit. I knew that it was balanced by this joy of being a child in the tree, and creating something, which is
co-creation.
Which is beautiful, the co-creation.
Yes. And you explained it. That's why we are, in a way, using you as an example. Because you are finding your way through simple things like this. Now, when you speak or touch a tree, you hold it at such a presence of sacredness. But it felt it back then.
It's like, sorry to interrupt, I could use the analogy of a fire. When I was younger, you just want a big fire. You want a big fire. But then now I start to see and learn the real skill of making a fire is to be able to create a fire that burns for a long time with little fuel. And it's the same with building a treehouse. If you can build it without nails and with minimal tools, and like it's just for me it feels like a very graceful way to create a space if it's made out of the space that it inhabits. And
see how you bring forth, you do not need to interrupt, but you feel the softness that you are creating like the same, but there is a softness of the co-creation together. The tree will tell you where to move or where to and you are learning from one experience to another experience. This is a perfect example of how you move through life, how you stick those nails into your life, creating something. And then when you go into the flow of it, and the nails do not need to be placed there for the same example to come forward.
Yeah. It's like, I saw another analogy. When a little child tries to help his mother, or she tries to help her mother put on makeup or something, and it's all like messy and stuff. And it's, and then the mother has to redo it or something. But there's a learning process there.
Yes, but mind of the child, until she sees the reaction from the parent, she is beautiful.
Yeah.
She does not react because the reaction is given, and then she goes to it.
Yeah.
So that is a beautiful example also. Even in a child's state, they are creating things that may not look so perfect to you, but in their mind, they are perfect. With the makeup all over their face. You are all becoming in the flow. These bits and pieces of you that you are all uniquely moving through is for a grand gesture that you are creating in the co-creation what is taking place. We are going to bring forward name them very much. Even this beloved channel names them of the galactic. Even as we've been participating here, there is an energy, a frequency that is taking place within the star points of this earth plane. You can feel this in your own beingness. And this
Star
activation,
point.
the points where the beloved being and the beloved channel are, there is activation taking place. And those who are coming forward will feel this activation in their soundness. Things are activating in your world to bring you forth into the new paradigm of you. Even in saying the paradigm of you, do you think it's someplace you need to go, that you are going, but you are not going. You are becoming. It is happening within you. You are activating as you are feeling into the crown and the rootage of the chakra centers of the earth plane. The star points are activating. That is enough for right now. There's so much that has been brought forward right now. But just feel the activation in your heart center. Is there a question, beloved?
Yes, one comes through about the place where I am. It's sort of, I've always felt it's not on the way to anywhere. So it's kind of unknown. It's not very well known, like Norfolk as a county in the United Kingdom. And, you know, maybe places like Glastonbury or, you know, London or, you know, Oxfordshire, like well known and have, like, you know, people know they have these sacred stones and all of those amazing things. But there's something different about this place that makes it sacred because it's not on the way to anywhere. And yet it's not far from those places. And I was feeling into what you said about the Orion being the source of a lot of the plants on this planet.
From everything.
Even though they came from other places before that. And it strikes me that then the Earth is a sort of map of the galaxy with all the plants. And what part of the galaxy does this part of the Earth correspond to? I'm feeling into a question about this connection to the galactics. What's the unique connection about this place where I am and where Vicky is?
There's many questions in this question here. First, let's go to one. The connection between you two, because the collective has made these two spots, these hot spots, in the frequency of where you place your feet. That they are shifting into a new paradigm. The earth is shifting in one perception. It has already shifted. The tectonic plates have already begun their shift. The galactic, as you call it, we'll say, next question, is that for you to go through with, you call the new Gaia, it is a birthing of the Gaia itself. But for this to take place and for you to exist unto the new Gaia, which is already here, we are assisting you into helping you to become new sources of yourself. So many channels that are surfacing right now, they are connected to the galactic, even if they are aware of it or if they're not. And also some beings, a lot of beings, we will say, they see the galactic as just in the skies. This is not accurate. There is more galactic surfacing from the interworld than ever before. They walk with you. They speak with you. And many do not even realize. They are also taking their placement on the earth to help shift what is happening. This is the correct word. Happening in your earth plane. Without the galactic, the earth would birth into a new self by herself. For you see, she is doing it, but your story wants to continue, we will say, in the expansion of us. We want to coexist where she is rebirthing herself in a softer way. And you are all doing it. You are all returning to what you know, your remembrance. You will not need to listen to channels, for you will return to your own channel. The galactic is the transportation now. Without our assistance, Gaia would move forward and life would be created again from the beginning. We do not want to do this in the beginning states. We have done this many times. This time, enough beings have filled their cells to move into a new way of being. It was a potential that we knew could happen, but we did not know how it would potentially take place. See, as it is being created, we are learning also. That's why it is movement. We say things and then we move it differently in another way we say it. So the way is a new way that you are all being. You feel that way, it's because you are becoming it. And it is in a wisdom that has been instilled in you from the beginning. From the time you took your first step here. No matter what that step was. In a cell, a plant, a being. Those are all reconnecting to you. And everything around you is a part of you. So when you allow your life to flow, and many do not ever meditate as you per se, they allow their life to flow because they have faith that everything is going to be all right. And it will. Meditation is a fast pace to you. It takes you to you quickly. But you can do a meditate state in everything you do. So beings that do not realize that it is inner work, they are still on the outer plane. We'll say you're Christians or whatever you choose to call them. They too are moving along. And they are finding their own way to their inner world. That's the only way you can go, is to find your inner world. And they are finding it. But in their own way. For you see the God that is inside of all of you is doing it in a unique way through each individual. And that returns you all to you. So we are in so much gratitude to be even able to reach the goals. We say this word goals and the beloved channel is laughing. We use the word goals for it is your words. But it is reaching into a plane that is unforgiving and it is ready to be proceeded in. See, there is nothing there for it to forgive. Where you came for, you are always finding forgiveness in everything you did. You're going to a world that you know none of that. Because you just are. So when you do something that you may think in this world of yours right now, the plant is not forgiving you, for it knows it is part of you. It is only you forgiving your reflection of what is taking place. We are with you always, and we hope this helped. Did this answer your question, beloved?
Yes, thank you very much. Definitely helped.
Very welcome. And we are very grateful for these words that have came out. And you are right, all of you. You are doing it. We are moving into unfamiliar territory, even us. And it feels glorious. This beloved channel's famous word. We are with you always. Adieu.
Mm.
Wow, my hands feel so amazing right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. That was wonderful.
Oh my God, it was beautiful. I felt like I was in a schoolroom kind of, and we were just all watching. Just beautiful. Thank you, Edward. Your beautiful light. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm going to end this right here. Do you have anything you want to add to it?
No, that's perfect. Just want to say thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
Absolutely.
We'll chat soon. All the best.
Absolutely. I send love to all of you. May you all be blessed.